To be back, as the song says, back in the U.S. Well, back in the USA. And yeah, I am here. I woke up like an hour ago, so I'm shaking the cobwebs here, but I'm good. And I have returned from Brazil. Had an overnight flight last night. I left Sao Paulo at 9 p.m. their time, which is only an hour later than Eastern time. Going to Brazil from the East Coast as I did and back to the East Coast, it is not a big time difference at all. It's only an hour. So the jet lag thing is not really a thing. It's a very long flight. 10 hours in the air. But I'll say this, the entire trip from when I left last Wednesday night until when I got back at 6 a.m. this morning into Newark Airport, could not have gone better. It was top to bottom in every way. It went great. And for something that came up so last minute on my schedule, that was, quite involved, going to another country, visas, the things that were needed, couldn't have gone better. So I'll take you through it a little bit today. I'll tell you a little bit about the festival. I've seen the festival getting a decent amount of coverage online around the world, too. And, of course, I was there. I hosted it, and I'll tell you what I can tell you and take you through that today. We've got other rock news, of course, to cover today as well. We will likely, by the time I get through all this, have time for your phone calls. 844-686-5863, as usual, is our number. If you want to jump in on anything, this being the first live show in 4 days. I was off Thursday, Friday. You had those top 20 best ofs. And, of course, now back with you guys here and throughout the week, live all week, as we head into another Monsters of Rock. In crazy irony that in the month of April, I am hosting two events with the same name, one a cruise and one of just coming off of, which, of course, was a one-day festival in Brazil. And again, they are not related or connected in any way at all. Somehow they both have the same name, one being a cruise, one being this land event. But they don't have any connection in any other way. Just totally out of the blue that, this thing came to me about 10 days ago, 2 weeks ago. It was almost exactly 2 weeks ago I was asked if I wanted to do this. So why it happened so last minute, how it happened, I still really don't know. I'm just glad that it did. Of course, the cruise I've known about forever, and I've done every single one of those, and that will sail. We sail this coming Sunday. The pre-event is this coming Saturday at the usual spot in Miami, the Magic City Casino. I'm going to try to get over to that at least to see Y&T. I don't get in until a bit later in the day on Saturday. Y&T closing that out. And I love Y&T, so I'm going to try to get over to the pre-event for that. But they're on the ship as well. And then we sail on Sunday. At last count, somebody told me somewhere around 55 bands. Oh, my God, it's going to be crazy. But yeah, we will cover that extremely extensively once we get into it because, as you know, I broadcast from that. That is one of the few and really only events that I actually do the radio show live from. And I did everything in my power to make sure what happens this year does not happen. What happened last year, I should say, does not happen again this year. If you recall, last year, we had a connectivity issue on the cruise. I need internet and certain access to internet in order to do a live radio broadcast with the equipment that I have for remote broadcast. And we usually have never had a problem with that. But last year we could not, and I could not get the connection, and everyone tried. So to try to make sure that does not happen again, I've taken every precaution. As a matter of fact, the broadcast gear is already in the hands of the production people for the ship. There is a SiriusXM engineer going on the ship the morning before we sail to test things and set things up. So everybody is in line well in advance. So we should not have any issue at all this year bringing you radio shows from the Monsters of Rock cruise. And as I mentioned in the past, this year's cruise is predominantly weekdays. Obviously, stuff that goes over weekends. We're not on the air on the weekend live. So you're going to get, all things go well, 4 shows from the ship. Next week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. For those that are going on the cruise, it looks like my broadcast location will be a place called the Smokehouse, which is doubles as a restaurant. Sorry, my voice is a little shot. Talking to 50,000 people on Saturday for 12 hours and just getting off a 10-hour flight. I mean, I literally landed and went to bed for a few hours, and here I am. So my main objective for the next few weeks is staying healthy. Wish me luck on that. Because I've got 2 back-to-back cruises, 9 days on a cruise ship. Because right after Monsters, the summer of 99, so I stay on the ship. And just coming off of, 4 days in Brazil. And then after that, I go to Arizona for Cheap Trick at the Kayshawn Casino, April 25th. Join me for that if you're in the Yuma area. So April is a beast for me, but I am not complaining at all. Happy to be doing all of it and grateful for all of it. So anyway, back to the Monsters cruise. Yeah, so that will sail on Sunday. We should have radio for you. As usual, all you guys that listen 3 to 5 Eastern, as you know, nothing changes as long as we get the show out. We may, every year, we don't know if we're going to be able to do phone calls, let you guys call in from the ship because there's a bit of a delay. But we'll test that. Every year the internet gets a little better, and maybe that will be something we can do. We'll see, but can't promise that. But there are a ton of bands, some of them already hitting me up about coming on the show, and that is actually one of the hardest parts of that cruise for me is managing all of that. Because in addition to doing the radio show from the ship, I have the responsibilities of things I need to do for the cruise itself. Some Q&As, some band intros, things like that. There's going to be this Aussie remembrance thing that they've put together that I'm going to be hosting. I know Zach is going to be doing that. Black Label Society is the headliner this year. So now, we shift towards Monsters of Rock Cruise, which is here, and something I'm grateful for having hosted everyone, and I will once again as we sail away on Sunday. More on that as we get closer. But last thing, if you are going on the cruise, you can come and watch the broadcasts as usual, 3 o'clock Eastern. And the ship time stays on Eastern as well. And we will be in a location called, at least as of now, check your schedules, called the Smokehouse, which is a little stage with tables and all of that. And if you've listened in the past when we've done this, if you are on the cruise, I will put you on the air because you can actually serve as the callers, the live audience can come up and ask a question to me or to the guests if you'd like. So again, more on that as we get closer. But before we go to Monsters of Rock Cruise, let me recap Monsters of Rock, the festival in Brazil. So, as mentioned, I got booked on this extremely last minute. I last did this event in 2013. It was my only other time in Brazil. At that time, the festival was 2 days. One was like a more modern rock, more metal-y day, headlined by Slipknot. The other day was a more classic rock day, headlined by Aerosmith. That was back 13 years ago. It was also at a different venue 13 years ago. Same promoter, though. A guy named Jose Muniz, who is he's based in Florida, but he does a lot in Central South America, Latin America. So flew there Wednesday when I got off the air last week. Had no problem, thankfully, at the airport. Got there, took off from Newark. I don't know, 8 o'clock at night. Direct flight, 10 hours straight in the air. Huge thanks to the promoter for flying me first class. Because although I am not a prima donna, my days of being in coach on a long flight are over. O-V-E-R, over. When you fly as much as I do, there is a cap on what you're willing to do on being on a plane. And I'm sorry, if I cannot extend my legs and do the lie flat thing on a long flight, it ain't happening. I won't do the gig. It's not. I don't give a shit about food on planes. I don't give a shit about alcohol. I do not drink on planes, maybe a half a glass of wine. All I care about on planes is comfort and legroom. That's it. So to have, on those international flights, those lie flat seats is a must. And it ain't cheap, but it's a must. So thanks to the promoter for going for that. Game changer. Able to sleep a little bit. You get a pillow, a blanket. You can lay down. Got a little pod. Food was actually not that great, the little bit I did eat. So anyway, got down there with the, overnight flight going in, got in there Thursday morning. As promised, the promoter assigned a handler to me, if you will, which was a woman that is basically a tour manager in Brazil. She was great. Her name was Mariella. And she met me at the airport, had a car waiting right there for me, got in the car, took me right to the hotel. So now this is Thursday morning, very early, I don't know, 7, 8 o'clock, something like that in the morning on Thursday. And I had told them, I said, please make sure my room is available and I'm able to get in there right when I get to the hotel. I don't want to be sitting around the lobby for 4 or 5 hours waiting to get into the room because it's so early. So no, we'll take care of it. Sure enough, they did. I got out of the car. The hotel was the same hotel I stayed in 13 years ago. So clearly he uses this hotel, this promoter, for all his events. It was a Renaissance. It was a beautiful hotel. Looked it up. It's like a 5-star hotel. All of the bands stayed at that hotel except Guns N' Roses. But what was great was when I got out, they took me to the hotel, got out of the car, and handed me a room key. No check-in. Here's an envelope, room keys, go to your room, sleep, do whatever. Beautiful. All right, we're off to a great start here to this trip. And that's what I did. I went into my room. Now, the only problem was this had nothing to do with anybody. There was some sort of construction above me in the room I was in a little bit during the day, but it was only that one day, and it was fine. I was so tired, I slept through it. But great room, great hotel. my expenses were covered. Didn't take a credit card. Whatever you need, go to the restaurant, go breakfast. Here's a key to the private lounge. Well, let me tell you something, you guys. And again, I've been doing this a very, very long time. But when you work with people who are so pro and so good to you in that way, it just changes everything. And it makes you want to go the extra mile for them too. This woman translated for me. She gave me her number, anything you need. If you need to go out, you need to go anywhere. She was like my liaison. So it was great. That was all the accommodations, everything couldn't have been better. And then all the bands were staying in that hotel. And every one of the bands on this bill, I knew. So we got a chance to hang out. The other thing about the hotel is because they use it so often, all the fans know all the bands stay there. And as far as Brazilian rock fans go, you've probably heard what goes on in that part of the world when it comes to rock shows. And trust me, it is as passionate as you would imagine. They are so into it. So, as I was saying going into this, I had no idea of the expectations and what to expect for me coming there. Because when I went there in 2013, that metal show was aired there. And the show was still on and still in production. And that was how they knew me there. And it was very intense, the amount of people that were coming up to me everywhere I went. People in the hotel, everything. Grateful, but it was intense. But now, 13 years later, I have no idea how the people there would have connected with me, known about me, cared that I was going. Was anybody going to care that I was there? I don't know. But I was there to do a job either way, and I was fine with that. So coming into the airport Thursday morning when I landed, it was smooth. There was nothing. One person stopped me in the airport, no problem. Took a quick photo, got in the car, went to the hotel. Hotel lobby, walked in, couple people, nothing big deal, whatever. But it was Thursday morning. It was a couple days before the event. So I got some sleep, and then what happened Thursday night? Oh, and then Thursday night was the pre-party for this festival on Saturday. And it was at a club called Audio. And it was, the bands that played were Dirty Honey headlining, and the opening act was a band called Jailer. Spelled Jayler. Very, very young kids from England. Good band, very much cut from the retro Zeppelin throwback, young kids doing Zeppelin vibe stuff. Very, very, very much so. You're seeing a lot of that. Greta Van Fleet was that. There's a lot of that out there these days. Nice guys, met them, introed them. So anyway, so Thursday night we go over to the club, same deal, driver, the handler, get over there, go in the backstage. And then as soon as I go in, I see the Dirty Honey guys who are all good buddies. So what's going on? It's all good. Have a drink, sit, talk, whatever. They played me some of their new album. Sounds great. Sounds like a big step forward for them as well. Definite growth. I love that band. I was one of their first ever interviews. So it was great seeing them. They've been going almost 10 years now, believe it or not. And great to see their progress. But Jailer opened the show. I brought them on stage. Then Dirty Honey brought them on stage. Watched like 5 songs from their set. And then the woman I was working with said, we're going to get a car out of here. So let's go get to the car. So we went to the car, went back to the hotel, which I was fine with. Seen Dirty Honey many times, love the band. But again, in my older age with all this stuff, I am absolutely trying to pace myself a little bit, get a little rest, get some windows in my schedule because it's intense. There's a lot going on. So that was Thursday. Friday, the only thing I had to do Friday was some interviews. Not me doing interviews, me being interviewed. The promoters team said that there was a bunch of media outlets that wanted to interview me about being back in Brazil and talk to me about music, etc. So they set up some interviews for me Friday afternoon in a conference room in the hotel. And I did, I think, 3 interviews, audio and video. So I don't know, maybe they'll pop up somewhere. If they do, I'll repost them. But nice people, all were, very kind. And one was a radio person, local radio. One was a print person. One was a video thing. So I talked to all of them, did like 3 20-minute interviews. And then the Halestorm folks and my friend Michael that manages Halestorm, and I'd already seen everybody in all these bands in the hotel, because again, we were all in the same hotel. They invited me to dinner Friday night. So I said, sure. I didn't have any real plans. So we got this big van, and me, Halestorm's manager, and all 4 members of Halestorm got in the van, and we went out to one of these Brazilian steakhouses. Of course, about those because we have them in America, whether it's Texas de Brazil or Fogo de Chao, where they come around with the big skewers of meat and they're cutting it off on the plate. And, it's like a legendary Brazilian thing. But we could not figure out on a Friday, because we're just totally in this rock mode and oblivious to everything. And we're like, hey, why is it like a lot of restaurants closed, and why can't we find any good Brazilian steakhouses? And we asked the concierge at the hotel, and they recommended 2 or 3, and then some of them were closed, some of them were closing early. And then we figured it out that it was the Friday before Easter. And for those that are not religious, you may not know, it is known as Good Friday. And it is part of the Easter holiday. And I grew up very much practicing all this stuff because my parents to this day are pretty devout Catholics. So it hit me. I go, oh, it's Good Friday. And here's the other thing about Good Friday. Now, normally Good Friday, nobody closes, but in Brazil, things are a little different. But if you go through all the factions of the Easter holiday and Lent leading into it, those that follow this know that one of the things you do not do on Fridays during that period is eat meat. Now, look, there's been revisions in the church over the years because some of that has been changed. And, even my mom, she's like, well, you just can't eat red meat. It used to be you couldn't eat meat at all. They just change it all the time. I don't know. But in Brazil, they're pretty staunch about it. And from what I was told, it's a pretty Catholic country. So we realized that a Brazilian steakhouse on Good Friday is not going to really be a thing. Because the country is pretty devout about it. They are not going to open these places, or people aren't going to go to them on that day. So we get in this van, and the guy takes us to one that was open, and we must have drove for like an hour. I was sitting next to Lizzie and Joe from Hailstorm, and I'm like, are we going like to Argentina or something? So we finally find the place. We had to go early because it was they wanted to close early. So it was like, oh gosh, here comes this van of American rock sinners in the Brazilian steakhouse. And it hit us when we got there as to what was going on. And we're like, oh gosh, we were like, man, we hope the roof doesn't come down on us tomorrow or whatever. We're here. We might as well eat. We got to eat. And there's a few other tables going, but not much. So we had the early bird dinner because the place was going to close like by 8:00 because of the holiday. But it was amazing. It was great. We had a fun time. And the Hailstorm folks, just the whole band, their crew, just great, great people. A couple people from their management. Had a lot of great rock nerd talk and a lot of great food. So that was Friday night, which was basically the off night. Back to the hotel. Now there's a lot of fans at the hotel. So now going through the lobby, it's Mr. Eddie. They call me Mr. Eddie. Mr. Eddie, Mr. Eddie, take a picture. Take a peek. Sign this. Picture. Some people with my books. It was great. Great. So honored. Great. So, again, some of the guys in the bands are like, hey, man, we're hanging out at the bar. Come have some drinks. I went to my room. And chilled. I'm doing that more and more now because, again, here's the difference when I do these events between me and the bands. There's a lot of differences, obviously. They have talent. I don't have talent, at least not for what they do. The bulk of the people are there to see them, of course. But here's the huge difference with these events. The band's commitment for the whole event is to play 1 hour. My commitment for the event is to be there, in this case, for 13 hours. So the band rolls in, and they've got their people and their handlers in their dressing rooms, and they get their guitars and they go on stage and they play and they sing for the hour that they have on stage, and that's it. That's all they have to do in the 2 or 3 days they are there. Not me. I'm doing press, I'm meeting and greeting, and my day is 12, 14 hours. So I cannot get sick. I cannot get burnt out. I cannot lose my voice. And as I get older, I've become more aware of that. These bands put on their fancy clothes, their little outfits. I mean, if you look at that picture, I posted a ton on my social media. You've seen it. You've no doubt seen it. If you looked at any of my socials, you've seen video and photos from this whole thing. It's funny because when you see me in these photos, on any of these events, I am in sneakers, shorts, t-shirt, and a hat, always. The bands often are in very coiffed in their outfits and their designer pants and jackets because they don't have to do anything. They're sitting in air conditioning and they have to play 1 hour. I'm in dust, dirt, wind, rain, and I'm up and down stages, stairs, and for 14 hours. Damn right I'm going to be as comfortable as possible. It's a little different. I am not complaining at all. I'm just telling you because people don't understand sometimes, the workload of various factions of all of this. Little different. Same with all these bands on these cruises, like Monsters of Rock cruise. Like, I'm getting hit up left and right. Hey, let's do this. Let's do that. Come to dinner. Come, let's get a drink. Let's get a... Whoa, you guys want to see my schedule? Plus, trying to do a live radio show every day? Yeah. So I do my best, but it's like, it's a lot. Especially when you're getting up there. Again, I am not complaining. I'm just trying to give you some context of how different it is, based on what your role is. So, went to my room, watched TV, the 1 or 2 channels I could find in English. Because the next day, Saturday, was the event. And Saturday... Now, look, normally when I do a festival, say Rocklahoma, 3 days, any festival, anything I'm booked on that is a long one of these, starting at 10 a.m., going till 1 a.m., I specifically will put in the deal or tell the promoter I am not doing that. I will get there for the meat of the lineup. You tell me. I'll give you 6 hours. Tell me which 6 hours you want. If the thing is running from 10 a.m. till midnight, probably the smartest thing is have me come in at 5 or 6 till midnight. But whatever you want. But the 14-hour endurance test days for me, and by the way, most of the audience as it gets older is over. I hear about this all the time. About audience aging out, events aging out, because the audiences for these bands are getting older. It's too much. So normally, I would say I'll get there at 3, 4 o'clock and give you till the end of the event. But I did not do that this time for a lot of reasons. First of all, it was a one-day event. This was not 3 days. It was 1 day. Secondly, the first band on was this band Jailer was important to the promoter. Their manager is a friend. They wanted me to see him and bring them on. And again, I've not been to Brazil in 13 years. So 1 day, okay, I'll do it. So I left the hotel on Saturday, day of the event, at 10 a.m. 45-minute ride to the stadium. It was a big soccer stadium, held 50,000 people. Again, you can see all of this on any of my social media. Over the weekend, as you saw, if you follow, at Eddie Trunk, X, Instagram, the page on Facebook, I put all this stuff out as it happened. Photos, video, etc. Me introducing the bands, everything. So we get to this stadium. Now, I've not been to this stadium before. I go in, car pulls in, elevator goes up. Here's this beautiful setup, air-conditioned, modern hallway. And right down the hall, and again, this is all in one of my videos too, there's all the dressing rooms. Yngwie, Extreme, Hailstorm, Leonard Skinner, whoever I'm forgetting, Dirty Honey. The only band's dressing rooms that weren't up there was Guns N' Roses. They were on the lower floor. This was one floor up. And sure enough, there's my dressing room, sign on it, Eddie Trunk. Again, these people could not have been more pro and buttoned up to me. Open the dressing room. There's a sofa, stocked refrigerator, table with anything I could have wanted. Right down the hall was catering. Any food I want. Amazing. So again, when you have a situation like that, and they're being so good to you and so buttoned up, you wanted to go the extra mile. So I was there I was glad that I went there and did all that. Because when I had a comfortable air-conditioned private room to go back to and sit on a sofa for 20 minutes without somebody in my face if I needed it. So was great. Great. The funny thing was to get to the stage from this area where all the bands were except Guns was kind of Spinal Tap. And again, I did a video of the stage walk with me and Yngwie Malmsteen. You can see on my social media. But it was a pretty long winding in the bowels of this stadium. And it had very low-hanging pipes that were so easy for if you're tall like I am to hit your head. And, some of the stairs had some cement chipped out. So there's a lot of hazards back there. But that was the route to get to the stage. So I did that walk and those stairs all day Saturday, morning till night. And I get out there and just got into it, just started bringing out the bands. And there was a local, I'm still not sure if he's a radio guy. I know he owned a music store. His name was Walsir. He was out there doing stuff on stage with these banners and talking to the crowd in Portuguese, and then he would introduce me. And again, I don't speak, obviously, the language, but the promoter, he had said to me when I was there in 2013 that he was going to have a translator on stage with me, but then he said, you know what? Enough people understand what you're saying. Just speak in English. This year, he told me he was going to do a translator too, and then he decided the same thing. He goes, just go speak in English. They'll understand. They'll get the idea what you're saying, even if they don't understand. And he goes, they just want to see you. These people know you. They want to see you. So, okay. And if you watch the videos on my socials, you'll see they totally responded. It was amazing. As I've said so many times with these events, most people do not get there until later in the day. I don't care who's playing early. And that's certainly the case in the US and certainly was the case in Brazil. Now, there were a good amount of people there early, but the people didn't really start coming in. And the place was not really full until about halfway through Extreme, which was the third band from the top, and then certainly filled during Skynyrd and obviously Guns N' Roses. But earlier in the day, it was spotty. And as it got later, it filled in because, again, older audiences, even a one-day event, it's hard for people to be out there that long. That's why you're seeing, some of these events really scale back in terms of how they're doing these things. Like that Styx event that I do in Florida. By design, that is just 3 bands a day. Older crowd. You got the morning to yourself. You got the afternoon to yourself. You roll in, you see a few bands, you have a nice dinner, you're good. They did that with, was the thing that they did in Power Trip. If you remember Power Trip a few years ago, it was Guns N' Roses and Metallica, all that. 2 bands a night. That's it. Because again, it's a lot for people. And you're putting all this production and bands and starting early and crews and all the overhead. And what is it really buying you? You can see it in the numbers. People come for the last 2-3 bands. Quality over quantity, quality in terms of draw for sure. Not in terms of whether the band's good or not, but just in terms of draw and awareness. But this was fine because, again, it was one day. It wasn't 4 or 5 day festival. But by the time, so the order of the bands went, these kids, Jailer, that went on at 11:30, played it like half an hour. Dirty Honey went on 12:30, played like 45 minutes. Then Yngwie goes on. Yngwie did an hour. Hung out with all these bands, introed all of them, saw them all old friends, spent a lot of time with them. I could tell you a million stories with them alone. But again, I'm just trying to move this along a little bit. I want to get some of your calls. And then after Yngwie, Halestorm came out. And I was a little surprised that Extreme was above Halestorm on the bill. But again, when you get outside, in America, that would never be the case. Extreme is popular here. And look, Nuno is red hot right now. We've talked about that. But Halestorm would absolutely be well above Extreme on an American bill. In Brazil, no. In Brazil, Extreme is a bigger following, and Halestorm is still developing. They had only been there one or two times previous. So they don't have a lot of history there. They're still kind of a developing band. So Halestorm comes out, does an hour. Then Extreme comes out and does an hour. And then Skynyrd comes out and does 90. And then Guns N' Roses closes and does 2.5. One of the things I also did backstage is interviews with all of these bands except Guns N' Roses, who didn't do anything. And Guns N' Roses is the only band that I did not do an intro before, because as is the case with some of these big bands on festivals, they close everything down. They don't want anything. They don't, they got their process. They don't, and I respect that. It's fine. Again, I work for the promoter in these cases, so they know what's going on. But everything else I did, and when I went out in front of Skynyrd, that place was packed, and Ricky Medlock was sick. He was battling a flu, but he powered through brilliantly. I've said this, and I'll say it again, of the bands that are out there with technically no original members, to me, I think Skynyrd does it the best. They sound amazing. There is lineage to the past members. They are deferential to the past members. They acknowledge all the past members. They acknowledge it's a tribute to the music. And it's amazing because if you look at that bill, and one of the reasons why I really wanted to do this year is because I loved the bill so much. That bill was awesome. You had a young, developing, fairly unknown band opening in Jailer. You had a band 8-9 years in Dirty Honey. You had a guitar hero in Yngwie, been around forever. You had Halestorm, band's been around about 20 years. You had Extreme, an 80s band. You had Skynyrd, a Southern rock band from the 70s. And then you had Guns N' Roses, obviously an 80s band, but transcends anything at this point. I loved the lineup. I thought it was, nothing too over the top, but a little different flavors across the board. Skynyrd, versus Yngwie, different stuff. Halestorm, but it all worked. It worked. I loved it. I loved the bill. And that was one of the reasons why 3 months ago I asked about going to this. So, Skynyrd guys were great. Johnny Van Zant, so cool, came running up to me. Hey, man, let's ask me to take a picture. It's crazy. Saw Michael Cardelloni, who plays drums in Skynyrd. I saw Ricky, but he was sick. Damon Johnson from Brother Kane has now been in Skynyrd 6 years. I interviewed all of these guys. Here's what happened. And the promoter, they call him Muniz, it's his last name. He had told me this when I saw him, and I totally forgot about it. When I did this event in 2013, he had me do 2-3 minute backstage interviews with all the bands, and they ran them on the screen. And then I came out and said, please welcome, and the band played, and he wanted to do that again. So he set up a room backstage with a camera, and a sofa for me to have all these bands and do these little 2-3 minute interviews for the audience out there, the live audience at the venue. Problem is, again, he booked me so last minute and he had this idea the night before the festival that he couldn't coordinate it in time to get it up on the screens, and the changeovers were so tight. They were worried about, they wanted to stay on time, which they did. They had a hard curfew of 11 o'clock. So we did do interviews, but they did not show on the screens to the audience. However, they are going to send them all to me. They are going to use them on their socials in Brazil, and they're going to send them to me that I can put on YouTube so you can see and get a little flavor of that. I don't have them yet. They were professionally shot and recorded, but that was cool. And it was, again, completely buttoned up, private little room, set up chairs. The camera guy was there every time I needed him. It was quick. It was great. The bands were happy. It didn't take too much time. It was great. And, I was texting all the guys in Guns N' Roses, Slash, Duff, Richard Fortus, Dizzy Reed, all of them. We exchanged texts multiple times, but I never saw any of them because I would have to walk right through their area to get to and from the stage, which was no problem. But they get there very close to when they go on, and then they get into their clothes or whatever, and they go right on stage. And a lot of times they leave right after, like before the last note, they're in cars. So, and I didn't want to bother anybody. We were texting, but I didn't want to bother them or whatever. And actually, Slash and Duff texted me yesterday. Slash texted me yesterday. Duff did too, but Slash was like, "Hey, where were you? How come I missed you?" I'm like, "Dude, I know you were getting ready. I know it was crazy back there. I didn't want to bother you. I figured if you had time, you'd hit me up, and that was it." So he, wished me a happy Easter and whatever. But they're amazing, Dizzy, all of them. But I just didn't physically see them, because they were in their world and I was in my world. I saw Guns N' Roses manager, Fernando, who I've known for a long time. We talked for a while. Saw Del James, who's worked for Guns forever. We talked for a while. We talked about Testament, actually, because he writes the lyrics with Chuck Billy for Testament, has for a long time. So I saw some of the crew, saw the manager. Of course, I told the manager, "Hey, Axl ever wants to do that interview, you know where to get me." So we had a good chat. So it was good. It was good to see all them. Skynyrd guys were great. Hailstorm, amazing. I love that new album, Everest. Yngwie being Yngwie, in great spirits. Extreme, what can you say? Those guys are on fire right now. Nuno is like the guy right now. Dirty Honey, they're still over there. They're opening a couple other headline shows for Skynyrd. So I could tell you a ton about these sets individually. The big focus, obviously, Guns N' Roses being the headliner. And you've probably seen in various media already, they are talking about the fact that Guns N' Roses did Bad Apples from the Illusions for the first time since the Illusions tour at this show on Saturday. Just some notes about Guns N' Roses' performance. Couple things. First of all, I only saw the first hour. I did not see the whole show. They are now playing 2.5 hours, so they've scaled it back from 3 hours. But the reason why I did not see the whole show is, again, when I am working these things, it is different. I am working for the promoter. I am hired to be there for the promoter. I am on that schedule. And they started running shuttles back to the hotel because, again, all of the bands except Guns were at the same hotel. So all day, some people want to stay and watch other bands. Some people are like, I'm going to get out of here, go back to my room. So they told me the last shuttle back was 9:30, the latest shuttle. After that, you'd be sitting around until after Guns N' Roses played and after 50,000 people worth of traffic was leaving. By the way, traffic in Brazil in general is bad, let alone coming out of a concert. So my artist rep, the woman that was helping me, she said to me, when do you want to leave? I would suggest the 9:30. You'll be back at the hotel and you'll be clear of all the traffic. And I said, yes, let's do that. So that allowed me to watch 1 hour of Guns. And for them, I went all the way. That was the one band I went all the way to the other end of the stadium. Here's another thing, speaking of how buttoned up these guys were. They had a suite, a private suite for me or any of the artists earlier in the day to go in and watch any of the bands. Totally catered, stocked, food, alcohol included. It was amazing. So you could just walk there if you had a certain pass and go sit in there and, watch any bands you wanted. So that was the one band I went out there for, was Guns, to watch from way back full on. Because I couldn't the other bands because I have to stay close to the stage because I'm working. Again, huge differences between the artists and what they can do and what I can do. And the demands on time and schedule. So I was way in the back because that's where the suite was, but I saw the whole scope of it. And I got to tell you, it was amazing. Needless to say, Guns is enormous everywhere in the world, but especially there. Axl has all these ties to Brazil because his entire management and his entire infrastructure is Brazilian. And I really felt like he was in a great space and really kind of turned it up a little bit and seemed to be in a really, really good, happy mode at that show. And I only saw the first hour, but the first hour I thought vocally he was really strong sounding. Looked good and sounded really good. Now, again, I know it was only 1 hour of a 2.5 hour show. Sometimes people peter out later. I don't know. I wasn't there past the first hour. The other thing that struck me about the set list, because even though I left after, I think, Dead Horse, which was cool that they played, was the fact that technically, this was the first time I've ever seen them play where they did not play anything from Chinese Democracy. Technically. And what I mean by technically is that we all know that these quote unquote new songs, Nothing, Atlas, Perhaps, are all leftovers from Chinese Democracy that didn't make the album. But they did not do the song Chinese Democracy. They did not do Better. Those songs had been in the set since they reunited 10 years ago. But now they've got these newer songs from that era, and they're in the set instead. The other thing about it that I thought was interesting is they are still doing the Velvet Revolver song Slither. And it was second in the set. They open now with Welcome to the Jungle. And then they went into the Velvet Revolver song. I think it's cool they do that song. Obviously, Slash and Duff, it's their thing. But Axl must really like that song because it has been in the set now for a long time, and it is the second song they played the other night. Outside of that, some stuff from Illusion coming in, a lot of the usual suspects from Appetite, a smattering of covers. We'll get to that whole thing in a second, the whole covers thing, which, my God, what a thing that became. So crazy. So crazy. The internet is so crazy. Oh my God. Yeah. So that was all that. I got out of there, back to the hotel, 10 o'clock-ish or whatever, 10:30. And again, right back to my room. Everybody's like, let's eat a drink. Done. You guys were at the event for 2 hours. I was there 12 hours. See ya. I am not a party pooper, but when I got to work and I got to function and I'm on a schedule, I'm trying to keep my shit together. People wonder how I do this at this level. You gotta pick your spots. This level meaning at this age. So I did not do anything afterwards. And then Sunday, yesterday, I don't even know what day it is because I'm so messed up from the travel. But yeah, today's Monday. Yesterday, yeah, last night I was still in Brazil. Okay. So yesterday was Easter. The only direct flight back left Brazil at 9 p.m. last night. But of course I wanted the direct. So I sat around all day at the hotel. Same deal though. Promoters like, no problem. You've got the hotel for the day. Get yourself a nice dinner, lunch, whatever. Private lounge in the hotel. Amazing. I'm like, yeah, I probably will just hang at the hotel all day because it's Easter Sunday. There can't be anything happening, especially given what went on Good Friday where things were shut down. So there were a few other people at the hotel that also had night flights that were just hanging out. And two of them were Michael and Chris, who work for Hailstorms Management. So I texted them around 1 o'clock. Well, first of all, in the morning, I went and got breakfast. I ran into Gary and Pat from Extreme. They were still there, so we had breakfast together. And then I said to these the Hailstorm managers, I said, hey, I'm going to go out and take a walk around. I said, do you guys want to come? They go, probably it's Easter, man. Probably nothing's going to be open, but sure, we'll take a walk. I go, I just want to get some air, walk around, see what's going on. Walked 1 block up from the hotel. And again, you'd see this on socials if you look. The entire 6-lane street was shut down, and they had a huge street fair with tons of shops open, permanent, everything was open. It was like the complete opposite of what I expected. It was wild. It was so cool. It was so much fun. And I just walked down the middle of the street, this big drag of just taking it all in, going into different stores. It was awesome. And the other thing is, man, speaking of buttoned up, did they have that buttoned up from a security perspective? They had military and police literally on every street corner. Now, depending upon who you ask, crime is either very bad or not as bad as reported in Sao Paulo. However, more than one person told me one of the biggest crimes right now in Sao Paulo, Brazil in general, is tourists and people who take their cell phones out and video or take photos of themselves. You got all these people on these little scooters. They come by, you're not suspecting it. They grab it out of your hand and take off with your phone. That's the biggest thing. When I posted my first video from the street on social media, Jeff Scott Soto, first person to text me, goes, dude, I go there all the time. Be super careful if you do that. People will come running by on a vehicle, grab the phone, and your phone is gone. And you can't catch them because they're on scooters or motorbikes. So you had to be really aware of that. But obviously I didn't have that happen to me. Super fun day. They had people selling records on the street, food, bands playing. I even have more to post when I get a chance. It turned out to be great to be there yesterday. Just having the day to check stuff out. Got picked up yesterday at the hotel, 5 o'clock. Got to the airport, 6 o'clock. Hung out for a couple hours at the airport. Flight took off at 8 last night from Brazil. Landed at Newark Airport, 6 o'clock this morning. Cleared customs, got in an Uber. Was in bed at 7 this morning in New Jersey. Woke up a couple hours ago, and here I am. So, there is my recap from an amazing 3.5, 4 days hosting what is the Monsters of Rock Festival in Sao Paulo. Could not have been better, could not have been treated better. The fans were amazing, so passionate. They told me they listened to the podcast. Obviously they don't get Sirius XM there. All the stuff that people put up on YouTube of mine, they see and hear that. They still talk about that metal show. They just know people, they were so kind. Mr. Eddie, legend, come to Brazil. I mean, it made me feel like a rock star. It was so, so kind. And the promoter was super happy to have me back. I don't know, maybe this turns into a yearly gig. I don't know that yet. But he's already emailed me. And I'll go back anytime and work with that guy because, again, he took such great care of me and his whole team did. And the event was so well run. And it was sold out, 50,000 people. So that's what I have for you. And I'm sure I'm going to be talking about this for, the next week or so as things pop into my head, or maybe you guys have questions or what have you. Couple quick notes here and a few other quick unrelated things on news. Then we'll get a break and then we'll come back and we'll get calls from you guys. And also, just in case you're wondering, Bret Michaels was supposed to be on with us today. Joel, they announced what Bret's doing publicly, right? That's out now?
Yeah. That's all been released.
We were teasing it last week. So, Bret is playing the NFL draft. And he's a big Steelers fan and a big football guy, as am I. So Bret was supposed to come on today to talk about that. That's been pushed till tomorrow. So Bret Michaels live with us tomorrow on that. Today being Monday, Hair Nation show following this, 5 to 8 Eastern on 39. This will be the last Monday for a couple weeks for the Hair Nation show because I'll be on a cruise ship for the next 9-10 days starting on Sunday, and I will not do the Hair Nation show from Monsters of Rock Cruise. This show, yes. Hair Nation, no. It's too much, takes too long. It's the music, it won't work. Oh yeah. So on the plane, I always see stuff on the seat backs of planes that I've never seen or haven't seen in a long time. A lot of music stuff. There was a Prince concert. The Prince show from the Purple Rain tour from 1985 has been restored 40 years later. They were showing that on the seat back of the plane. I was watching that. My God, just mind-blowing the talent that Prince was. The guy did everything great. Every instrument, shredding guitar player. He did a 20-minute version of Purple Rain in this concert. Mind-blowing guitar playing. Singing, performing, dancing. Every instrument, wrote every song. I was thinking about it watching this thing last night. Today, our pop artists have 15 songwriters for a 3-minute song. Most of them can't sing. Most of them have fake vocals, fake instruments. And then you had Prince. Played everything, wrote everything, produced everything, did it all brilliantly. And I have never seen anybody move on stage like that before, after, or since. So just a quick note on that because I watched it and I was just like, some of it got a little too dancey for me and a little too spread out. But when he went into rock mode and started ripping that guitar, it was insane. I've always said this. I always wished Prince made a full-on rock record because he definitely had it in him. And it would have been unbelievable because he was such a great guitar player. There's also a concert film on Depeche Mode on the plane, something to do with Mexico and Mexico's history with death. With like people dying and like how they celebrated or something, but it was around a Depeche Mode concert. It was really odd. I only lasted about 5 minutes on that one. And then they also restored a Chuck Berry 1-hour documentary that was real good, but we landed. I only got to see about a half an hour of that. But I'll be on another United flight going to Florida on Saturday, so maybe I'll catch it then. Real quick, and we can get more into this, and I want to do a show about this with you guys calling in, as I said, online, maybe even Wednesday. We got Brett tomorrow, or Wednesday or Thursday this week. My God, did a stupid little response of me on X/Twitter touch off a whole online thing, including even a story in Loudwire. One simple opinion from me turned into a whole thing the other day. All I said, speaking of Prince, was that Bruce Springsteen did Purple Rain when he played in Minneapolis recently. And as I'm scrolling through my X/Twitter feed, I saw that. And all I did was write that I don't understand why artists with long, extensive, deep catalogs, 15, 20, 30 records, 300 songs, do covers live. I think most people want to hear the artist's own music. That's what they paid to hear. That's my opinion. That's my preference. Okay, that's it. That's it. Well, friends are texting me. Duff McKagan just said something. Dee Snider just said, what? We talk about what? Your tweet about covers live. Really? First of all, I'm flattered my opinion can make reverberations around the world. It's just an opinion. So truly, I'm flattered. But secondly, I'm like, okay. Somebody feels differently. That's okay. It's an opinion. It's my preference. But of course, the internet, just, whatever can get a clickbait headline, whatever can cause division or drama is going to feed. There's no issue. No issue with anybody. I was texting Duff yesterday. And I stand behind how I feel. And by the way, a billion other people told me they agree. But it's like everything. It's context. It's case by case. What I mean is, again, the part about deep, extensive catalogs. Ironically, when it comes to Guns N' Roses and Twisted Sister, in this case, Duff and Dee disagreeing, and I respect their opinions. But here's the thing. I got no problem with either of those bands doing covers because they don't have extensive catalogs. That's exactly what I said in the post with deep, extensive catalogs. Springsteen's got 300 songs. We've talked about this a billion times. Twisted Sister made a handful of records. Guns N' Roses has 4 or 5 albums in a 40-year career. Duff should do a couple covers. Dee should do a cover with Twisted Sister. Keeps the audience interested. You don't have 55 hits or 55 albums. So you can even make the debate about that, but it's just preference. It's like when Gene Simmons has been talking for 50 years about how many albums Kiss has sold and how many songs they have and platinum records they have, and then goes out on a solo tour and half his set is Motorhead and Thin Lizzy covers. What? That's what I'm talking about. And I'm not a Springsteen guy, but if I was, I would much rather hear him do Jungle Land than Purple Rain. That's all I'm saying. Do what you want. It's just like, it blows my mind what turns into something. And it's why we're in this hyper sanitized world where it's just, people are afraid to give at least publicly on the record, give one comment about anything. Because it just becomes something like Twisted. What? Okay, you like one-off. Great. That's great. I don't. That's what I want. But it's case by case, depending upon the band. That's it. It's all good. I'm sitting in a hotel in Brazil. I'm like, what? What did I do? What? Oh, your thing about covers live. Everybody's chiming in, and Duff said something, and D said something, and this. Okay. Holy shit. I'm watching that Prince concert last night from 85. There wasn't a cell phone in the crowd because they didn't exist. Nobody's looking at their screens. Nobody's posting. Nobody's checking their status. Nobody's videoing. People are holding up cigarette lighters. I'm like, you know what? Those are the days when concert was a concert. I had a funny discussion with the Dirty Honey guys about the pros and cons of social media and the madness of it, which, so I'll save for another time. It's funny though. All right, so there's that. And again, I might want to do a show on that because I love opinions and debate. I'm just giving you mine. You know, Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons' kids have this band, Stanley Simmons. They released a new song that was much more like rock and roll. The other stuff was more of singer-songwriter. But they've announced their first ever live shows, 4 shows in May in California. If you watch the video for their newest song, you will see my friend Jacob Bunton in it. He's a very talented producer who's been working with them a little bit. Metallica, we know all about the Sphere stuff. Today, Metallica announced a couple standalone shows. Mohegan Sun in Connecticut, November 19 and 21, a no-repeat weekend in an arena there to commemorate the 25th anniversary of that arena. Also, a quick note, Loudness, who canceled their club shows, we have the same booking agent, and he was with me in Brazil because he also books Yngwie. And he told me that Loudness is going to be, as of now, on the Monsters of Rock cruise. So they will not be playing any other shows in the U.S., but if you're going on the cruise, we should finally get Loudness. That their visa issues and whatever they're dealing with is resolved in time for them to do the cruise, but was not done in time for them to get into the shows leading into it. Alice Cooper announced his new guitar player subbing for Nita Strauss. Her name is Anna Cara. She is 22 years old. She is British. She comes from Tommy Henrikson's side band Crossbone Scully. I knew this was going for a while. Shep Gordon, Alice's manager, called me for suggestions about a replacement a couple months ago. I made a few suggestions, but then Shep told me they found somebody and told me it was this person. I do not know her at all, but she played her first shows with Alice Cooper because Alice and Chris Angel resumed that magic metal hybrid deal over the weekend with 3 additional shows. Again, I was in Brazil. I couldn't see it, but I plan to see the last run of these dates when they happen in May. But Anna Cara stepping in as the replacement for Nita and in the female guitar player role. Nita Strauss, of course, is leaving the Alice Cooper band because she is very pregnant, and her husband are expecting a child soon. It's not known how long Nita will not stay away from performing, but for now, Alice's replacement and the new guitar player replacing her, her name is Anna Cara. Largely unknown, 22-year-old woman. And also, U2 the other day dropped an album out of nowhere once again, an EP of 6 songs called Easter Lily. And finally, this is very sad news. It was announced, I believe, yesterday. Don Landee has passed away. Maybe not a household name, but an extremely important person in the history of Van Halen. Don Landee was the engineer, Ted Templeman's engineer. Ted Templeman produced all of the classic Van Halen albums. A big part of the sound and the production came from Don Landee, who was his engineer, not only on the stuff he did with Van Halen, but even on Montrose before that. Doobie Brothers, Van Morrison, a lot of the stuff that came out of Warner Brothers Records. Templeman was a staff producer for Warner Brothers. Landee was his right-hand man. Don Landee would later, after engineering the first 6 Van Halen albums, would then go on to co-produce the first 2 Hagar records, 5150 and OU812. Because, of course, in 85, David Lee Roth leaves, and the line they've always said is David Lee Roth got Ted Templeman in the divorce. So he ended up, Templeman went to work on Roth's solo stuff. Landee went and was elevated to producer on the first 2 Hagar records. The other big distinction for Don Landee is that he was the person who co-worked or co-created and built Eddie Van Halen's recording studio, 5150, and had a lot to do with the 1984 album, which was the first album made in that studio. And Don was if you read the Templeman book, I mean, Ted couldn't even get into that studio because Don Landee just kind of took over with Eddie on that first record made in 5150, which again was 1984. So huge loss here. He died at 79 years old from what they are saying is natural causes, and was, 79. But for those that know, and these people that are so vital behind the scenes in the industry on these records that we love and why they sound the way they sound, Don Landee was a legend in that area. All right, Joel, I just went for an hour 17 on catch up. Anything you want to jump in on?
No, nothing to add there. You got it all.
Bret Michaels tomorrow. Figure out the rest of the week as we go. This is the last week, live all week, the last week on land before we start broadcasting from sea next Monday. 844-686-5863. If you want to see photos, video, stage announcements, all kinds of stuff from Brazil over the week.
You binge shows, you binge podcasts, you binge snacks at 2 a.m. So why not binge comedy? Introducing SiriusXM's Comedy in Full, the new channel where the laughs don't stop at 5-minute clips. We're talking full stand-up specials, back to back to back. No skipping, no short clips, just the entire show, the way comedy was meant to be heard. Ready to start your comedy binge? Open the SiriusXM app and stream Comedy in Full now.
It's the College Basketball Men's National Championship game on SiriusXM and the SiriusXM app. Can UConn capture its 3rd title in 4 years?
Mullins three, left wing, it's good! Mullins maybe with the dagger!
Or will Michigan return to the mountaintop for the first time since 1989?
Yaxel Lindeborg limping around and draining three.
Listen to Westwood One's coverage tonight at 8:50 Eastern on SiriusXM College Sports Radio Channel 84 and the SiriusXM app.
My name is Christine, and I'm a widow. My husband, Ryan, died. He was a healthy 34-year-old, and 3 months later, he was gone. Thankfully, he had the foresight to get life insurance. Because we had the 2 small children, he decided it was important to get it to make sure that we would have enough in case anything ever happened. The bills were covered, the mortgage was paid, so I could focus on my kids. With Ethos, getting life insurance is fast, affordable, and 100% online. You can get a quote in seconds, apply in minutes, and get same-day coverage. No medical exam, and you can get up to $3 million worth of coverage. We truly don't know how much time we have. Life insurance didn't take away the loss, but it did give us the time and the space we needed to just grieve.
Get your free quote at ethos.com/quote. That's ethos.com/quote. ethos.com/quote. Paid spokesperson. Time spent on application may vary. Online health questions required.
Looking for a little extra fun? Chumba Casino lets you play for free with daily login rewards and a cheeky little welcome bonus when you sign up. Explore hundreds of online social casino games and jump in whenever it works for you. No routines, no pressure, just entertainment on your terms. That's Chumba. Only available in permitted states. No purchase necessary. See terms and conditions for details. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21+.
Rising tensions in the Middle East are rattling oil, interest rates, and global supply chains. Just one shocking headline could trigger dramatic sell-offs that could slam your 401k and portfolio overnight. When geopolitics drives panic selling, the fallout can erase years of careful saving. You need the right tools and strategies to protect retirement assets from risk and the know-how to invest wisely when volatility strikes.
Hi, Charles Payne here. If you're over 50, like me, retiring wealthy isn't just about saving more. It's about protecting what you've earned and making smarter decisions with the money already in your accounts. My newest book, Unbreakable Investor, will show you how you can begin boosting your returns in your 401k, your IRA, and brokerage accounts. Claim your free copy today.
The retirement crisis is real. Protect what you've worked for. For your free copy of Charles Payne's latest book, Unbreakable Investor, text NEWS to 505-505. Text NEWS to 505-505. Text NEWS to 505-505.
Message and data rates may apply.
It used to be that stuffing tissues up your nose was really the only way to stop your messy, frustrating nosebleeds. Nampons are the doctor-recommended better option that over 3 million people have already discovered. So what's a Nampon? Nampons fit inside your nose perfectly, expand for gentle pressure, and even have a clotting agent clinically proven to stop the bleeding fast. And now Nampons are available at Walmart. So ditch the tissue and be prepared for your next nosebleed. Pull in the Walmart right now and get Nampons in the first aid aisle.
We're talking hard rock and metal.
That's part of the contract.
SiriusXM Faction Talk. Trunk Nation.
It's great for the mind.
And now, Eddie Trunk.
All right. So there's your report. What do you guys got? What do you want to report on? What do you want to ask about? What do you want to get into? Again, 844-686-5863 is the number. We'll let you get involved here on a Monday, on a busy catch-up day here. Again, both shows today will be live. I'll be with you guys coming up at the top of the next hour for 3 extra hours with music, talk, and requests for Trunk Nation on Hair Nation, the Monday-only show over on Channel 39. Everything, as well as you know by now, is on the SiriusXM app to listen to live or on demand, including, by the way, the Hair Nation show is now, for the first time in 25 years, it only took about 25, 26 years, the music is included on the on demand on that. People have literally been asking me about that forever. And I could never figure it out, but somebody did. So I'm told the full show is there now on that particular show. This show has always been archived in full. But that one, because it had music and whatever, I don't know. All right, let's go to the phones now. We'll start in California. Here's Steve joining us. What's going on, Steve?
Hey, Eddie, welcome back.
Thank you.
I have a rock doc recommendation, but for if there's time. But I wanted to report on the Satch Vai concert. I went up to Reno last night and saw it's one of their first shows, I think, on this tour, and I was just blown away by how great it was. I've seen both of them solo before, but having them both together at the same time, what just made it, 10 times better. It was just a great presentation. So,
were they out there together, Steve? Were they out there together the entire time?
Yeah, they were. They sometimes one would go off and the other one would stay on, but they, they played on each other's songs. They traded solos on their own songs, and sometimes they played their own songs for a while, and then the other guy would come out and play some of the other guy's song, and they had another guitar player, even a third guitar player out there playing some solos, and they all traded off, one after another, and sometimes they'd all play 2 or 3 at a time, would play the same, solo kind of harmony type. It was just incredible. I took my son, who's an aspiring guitar player, and he's 20 years old. He never heard any of those songs, but he thought it was just great. And, I asked him if he was inspired or discouraged by
right.
what he saw. He said he was inspired, but he said it was just, crazy good. And Animals as Leaders opened up too, which is also great. So
Tosin,
I can't be more more positive about the show. So hopefully everybody goes out and sees it. There's plenty of more dates coming up.
Yeah, Kenny Aronoff sent me a video. He was playing drums in that. He sent me a text last night. I guess there was a video or something of him in that janitor's outfit dancing. He goes, look, I'm on the screen now dancing as a janitor or something.
Yeah. They started out with, I think, 3 songs off their new latest album together. And there's kind of comical videos for all of them. They played kind of behind the music. Yeah. Kenny's in one. They had... and Kenny's great, and they had Marco Mendoza playing bass, and he sang the song that Glenn Hughes sang on the album, and he sang a couple cover songs at the end. But mostly it was just all instrumental guitar, soloing and trade-off and harmonizing. It was just crazy good. They had a real good camera view for folks to see them, see them playing together, from far back. So it was just great.
Steve, what was the doc real quick so I can move on?
It was a doc. It's about probably 20 years old or so. It's called Dig, D-I-G, exclamation
I heard
point.
of it. Yep.
Yeah, it's really good. It's about Dandy Warhols and Brian Jonestown Massacre, and they're, it's sex, drugs, rock and roll, rivalry, fighting, fist fights, all sorts of stuff. It's awesome.
Yeah, I saw it back in the day when it came out. I do remember. It's been a while, but I did. Thank you, Steve. Appreciate that report. Steve giving us a report on the Vi Satch tour, Satch Vi, whatever order it is, which, of course, we had both of them on together promoting all that. If you missed it, it's on the app, and we have video of that, too, which is on the YouTube channel at Eddie Trunk. If you'd like to see Vi and Satch talking about that together, we have that for you. Let's go to Edward, who is in Nevada, joining us. Hi, Edward.
Hey, Eddie. It's Kenward. Welcome back home.
Thank you.
Yeah, so a couple of weeks ago, you had a caller dialed in about the Alice Cooper, Chris Angel show in Vegas. And I got to say, that call left a pretty strong impression. He was talking about how everybody in the venue was standing the whole time and how amazing it is. Well, I went to see it last week because that kind of resonated with me. And quite honestly, I didn't want to be so hung up on what I thought the show was going to be. Think it'd probably be more like magic show and maybe Alice just appears here and there. Eddie, not the case at all. It's basically an Alice Cooper concert. His full live band, you got Ryan, Tommy, all the guys, and Chris Angel. That's what's so cool. He just appears kind of like how a character appears in Alice's regular shows, like his wife Cheryl, just various stages of the show they appear. So it totally works. It's a great collab. Everybody was standing. The phones get put away in pouches. So you're really focused on just watching an amazing show. And I'm going to see it again, like next month. It's that great. So maybe I'll see you there in May.
Yeah, I plan to go in May. Chris was bummed that I didn't go to these recent ones. I was in touch with him and the Alice camp. And thank you, Kenward. The Alice camp reached out to me as well about coming, and I appreciate all that. But again, I can't be 2 places at once, and had all these opportunities come up. So I'm just trying to go where I can go. But I do know, of course, there's that last run coming in May, and right now that does work for my schedule. So I will see one of those last shows for sure and be able to give you my own thoughts on it. But we covered the Alice Cooper, Chris Angel thing extensively with both of them. Again, that's all on the app as well. And if you happen to be going to Vegas, those next dates, I think they're early May. I think they're early next month, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe first weekend of May. There's 3 more shows, and I think it's 2 or 3. Joel can check. And you can check that out. For those that don't know what we're talking about, and maybe you've been living under a rock, certainly not listening regularly, Chris Angel, the magician, and Alice Cooper are doing a show together where Chris does magic around Alice's performances, and it's happening at Chris's Theater in Vegas in Planet Hollywood. It's not going to be something that's going to tour or happen consistently. It's going to happen based on their respective schedules. Alice has a very heavy touring schedule. We know he goes all over the world. He's got Hollywood Vampires coming up. Same thing. Can't be two places at once. Although maybe Chris can come up with some magic to make Alice two places at once. I don't know. Late May are the final announced shows so far for that. 844-686-5863. We got some open lines if you guys want to jump in. Here's Phil in Wisconsin. Go ahead, Phil.
Hey, Eddie, I wanted to, thanks for taking my call. Nice talking with you again. I just wanted to talk about the last in line stuff with Andrew Freeman bowing out, and the three others, Peace, Campbell, and Susan, are looking for another singer. I kind of thought that band was Andrew Freeman's type band, that he was the head of that band. So they're going
no. I would think if there's a head to that band, it would be Vivian followed by Vinny, because those are the two that are have the most history. Remember, Last in Line started as a band initially to play Dio music from the first two albums, because Vinny and Vivian, of course, were part of that. And remember, the original bass player in Last in Line was Jimmy Bain, who passed away on the Def Leppard cruise. So the original idea of Last in Line was the entire original Dio band that played on the first three records, Vinny, Vivian, and Jimmy, playing Dio songs. And then Jimmy sadly died. They brought in Phil Soussan, who's been there ever since. And then they also decided to start making original music, and the band became a hybrid of Dio and original music. So if anything, I'd say that probably it starts and ends with Vivian followed by Vinny, because of that history with Dio and how it was started.
All right. Well, it's too bad. It was a great band. I've seen them a couple of times live. Those guys rocked. They were great. So, but yeah. I'm sure they'll find something else and it'll all work out fine.
Yeah, a bit of a delayed reaction with the story of, and thank you, Phil, a bit of a delayed reaction with the story of Andrew Freeman being out of Last in Line. I noticed that's a headline today on Blabbermouth on the website. It's like the big headline. That was revealed on this show, like, what, Joel, 2 weeks ago? Week and a half ago?
Yeah, it's like 2 weeks ago already. He didn't. There was another interview where basically he just like doubled down that that's what's going on, and I think that's what's getting picked up now. Yeah,
because I know that Vinny said it on this show during the when he was on with us, which was again like a week and a half ago. Again on the app if you want to hear it. But Vinny came on to promote a Heaven and Hell box set. And during the course of the conversation, I just asked him what was going on with Last in Line, and he revealed, well, we're looking for another singer. So I did see that interview. My interview was sourced in the Blabbermouth article. And when I asked him about it, he just said that there were some tensions and whatever. But the other interesting comment that he made was that he kind of makes the allegation that Andrew did not want to sing the Dio stuff anymore, and finds it ironic that Andrew is now doing a full Dio tribute. So look, all of the band dynamics with these groups, I tell you guys all the time, and I use that word to be nice, dynamic. I don't have any examples you need of it being so rampant. Some of the tensions, dysfunctions, things that go on. Some people just can't make it work, or stuff gets weird. You don't know. You don't, unless you're really on the inside, you don't know. But, I love all those guys. I've said many times, I think Andrew is an extraordinary singer. So those are going to be tough shoes to fill too, because that guy can sing. And we'll see what they come up with. But the last thing on Last in Line is, I love the band, and I've done a lot with the band, but I don't know what the long-term plan is for that group, because Vivian told me that he's only going to be doing that band when it's really a proper gig and there's a great opportunity to do it. And because, again, people forget Vivian Campbell is battling cancer for a long time now. He's in amazing shape. He's really taking care of himself, but he's still battling a form of blood cancer that is really scary. And he's been battling it super bravely for a long time. So even though he loves playing that music and playing in that band, and it gives him a way to play guitar differently than he does in Def Leppard, bottom line is, if you're in a band and one of the bands plays arenas and stadiums and flies in a private plane, and the other band is in a van, plays a club for 150 people on a Wednesday night, you know, as much as you may love doing that for the fun of it, after a while, especially you're battling an illness, you're like, yeah, that was fun for a few years, but you know, I'll stay on the private plane. I mean, it's pretty simple, right? I used to talk to Viv about that all the time on the air with Last in Line. There was one year, I'll never forget, with Rocklahoma, which, by the way, is coming up, Labor Day weekend, so get your tickets. I'll be hosting once again. Slayer's only announced U.S. show there, by the way. But one year, Vivian played Rocklahoma with Def Leppard, and the next year he played it with Last in Line. I'll never forget this. Def Leppard, he had a compound backstage and the giant main stage and every amenity. And then the year later comes back with Last in Line. He's in a van with a little outhouse back in the field on a little stage playing to, you know, whoever. Like literally same guy, total 180. And again, as much as that might be fun for a little while, after a little while, you're like, yeah, I'm good. Been there, done that. So my point is, Vivian told me that if it makes sense and it's a good gig, meaning a festival and a decent spot with some people there, a decent amount of money so you can have decent accommodations, I don't think you're going to see a lot of Last in Line in general, but who knows? We'll keep an eye on it. And Andrew does have a Dio tribute now, and he does a Def Leppard tribute. And again, he's a Vegas guy. I see him, I love him, and I wish him well. And he seems to be doing well. But this whole thing was kind of a surprise when Vinny dropped that initially on this show. And again, you can hear it for yourself on the app. Okay, I went super long in my open, obviously covering all the Brazil stuff. So I do have to get one more quick break in, but we will have time on the other side for more of your calls. So hang in there, 844-686-5863. We'll be right back with more of Trunk Nation on a Monday, a post-Easter Monday. Coming right back.
What the heck is wrong with this thing?
Welcome to Morgan Wallen Radio.
What's happening now?
Morgan Wallen Radio.
Morgan Wallen what?
My very own channel, Morgan Wallen Radio, launches tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 Pacific, Channel 64, with an intimate performance recorded live in Nashville, Tennessee.
This I gotta hear. Morgan Wallen Radio, Channel 64, and in the Sirius XM app.
Looking for a little extra fun? Chumba Casino lets you play for free with daily login rewards and a cheeky little welcome bonus when you sign up. Explore hundreds of online social casino games and jump in whenever it works for you. No routines, no pressure, just entertainment on your terms. That's Chumba. Only available in permitted states. No purchase necessary. See terms and conditions for details. VGW Group. Void where prohibited by law. 21+.
Credit card interest rates are now over 29%, and most people are only making minimum payments, so they're getting nowhere. But here's what most homeowners don't realize. Using the equity in your home, you could easily access hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash. With Loan Pronto's Rapid Equity Loan, you can pay off your credit cards, your existing HELOC, your car loans, or get that money for that home improvement project. One client just got $100,000 approved and saved over $1,500 a month. And here's the best part. With Loan Pronto, you can do it all from your phone. With zero out of pocket, no hard credit pull up front, no appraisal, no long drawn out bank process, and no touching your first mortgage. Listen, rates are at a near 3-year low. Act now. Go to loanpronto.com. See how much you can get in about 60 seconds. Loan Pronto, 2,800 5-star Google reviews. Call 855-2-PRONTO or visit loanpronto.com. 855-2-PRONTO, loanpronto.com.
Equal Housing Lender, NMLS 166171, NMLSConsumerAccess.org.
AI is the next frontier of business transformation. But do you really want trendy AI features in your mission-critical business systems? You need AI that works for you from a vendor you can trust. Acumatica's approach to AI is different by design. Unlike other vendors who simply add generic AI capabilities onto existing features, Acumatica uses AI to solve real business problems. Our AI-first approach builds new innovations into your processes through practical features that enable you to make better decisions through AI-powered insights, to enhance productivity with intuitive AI assistance, and to transform processes with intelligent automation, all while minimizing risk and ensuring your data remains private, secure, and in your control. Over 10,000 companies trust Acumatica to help them achieve their boldest ambitions. Visit Acumatica.com to discover how you get AI that works for you. Acumatica, building the future of business together.
Did you know your life insurance is an asset you can sell? I'm Jay Jackson, CEO of Abacus Life. For almost 20 years, Abacus has been purchasing life insurance policies from seniors just like you. And at abacuspays.com, we've created a free policy value calculator so you can find out the worth of your policy in just seconds. There are no fees and no obligations. Get real value from your life insurance when you need it with Abacus. Learn more at abacuspays.com.
Trunk Nation with Eddie Trunk.
I'm a fan.
Sirius XM Faction Talk.
All right, we got Bret Michaels joining us live tomorrow. It was supposed to be today. We pushed it one day. Bret was announced to be one of the entertainers at the NFL Draft, which is rapidly approaching and has become a huge thing in the football world. So Bret, one of the musical performers, and anybody who knows anything about Bret, he loves his Steelers, he loves the NFL, so he's got to be real amped about that. So we'll have him on with an exclusive interview talking about it. That is tomorrow. He'll join us a half an hour into the show live at 3:30 Eastern. We'll hit him with some other stuff as usual as well. Always fun to visit with him. So our first guest of the week is Bret tomorrow. And then we'll see where we go from there. We'll after tomorrow or during tomorrow's show, we'll kind of hash out some of the stuff the rest of the week. Having been out of the country for a few days, I got a lot of catching up to do, and then I got a lot of prep to do to get ready to get on the cruise, this coming weekend. So take it as it comes. April is a busy, busy month. Like I said, 2 back-to-back cruises, Monsters into summer of 99. We will broadcast from Monsters. I do not broadcast from the second cruise. And then don't forget, April 25th, Yuma, Arizona, Kayshawn Casino, Cheap Trick. Saw a bunch of Don and some other friends of mine went to see Cheap Trick recently. All said great things. They're never not great. So I'm looking forward to hosting that in Yuma and going back to that resort casino in a little later this month. So very, very busy April, bringing along for all of it where and when I can. And just getting back now from Brazil, I did a full recap from the festival Monsters of Rock on Saturday that I hosted with Guns N' Roses, Skynyrd, and more. We'll be talking about that for a while. Again, hit me with anything you want about that as we go also. Let's say hi to Lance in California. He's up next. Hey, Lance.
Hey, Eddie. How's it going?
Good, Lance. What's on your mind?
Good. Hey, as you know, Ace's heavenly birthday's coming up on April 27th. He'll be 75. And how about doing a show in his honor, possibly on his birthday?
Yes, I think that's a great idea. Hold on a second. I'm looking at, I know his birthday is on my, that's a Monday. I was just seeing what day of the week it was. So it's a Monday. We will definitely do, not sure what we'll do yet, but we will definitely do an Ace celebration, honor, top 5, birthday calls. I don't know what we'll do, but we will definitely do an Ace Day that day for sure, Lance.
I've got a couple ideas if I could throw out real quick.
Go ahead. Yep.
Okay. First of all, top 5 Ace guitar solos. You were just talking about how you were misquoted with your cover songs. Ace did a lot of cover songs. Possibly a top 5 Ace Frehley cover songs. And the last one would be being Ace is up in heaven now, playing guitar up there with who knows who. Maybe top 5 heaven, Ace Frehley, 4 guys he's jamming with up in heaven right now in an Ace Frehley band.
Not bad, Lance. I'll think about all that. We'll see what we can come up with. Thank you, buddy. I appreciate it. We'll definitely do an Ace Day on the 27th for his birthday. As a matter of fact, I told you guys I've got this audio of something that nobody has ever heard or seen, of something I did with Ace years ago that I will likely try to put up on YouTube, maybe even shooting for that day. But I'm not sure, because I am in the process of potentially having my entire YouTube thing completely overhauled by a professional company in anticipation of putting my 40th anniversary concert up. And I may have to hold off on doing something like that until there's some things put in place. There's just so many layers to this, but it's all good stuff. But I'll let you know if I'm going to actually post that audio. There's video of it. I can't find the video, but the audio at least. And Never Heard Ace Hang interview. I'd like to do it for his birthday. I just don't know if that's going to be feasible to be so soon. Speaking of Ace, real quickly, there was also something that was making the rounds, and I don't really dive into this stuff all that much. Again, the internet stuff is so crazy. And by the way, I was not, to correct Lance, I was not misquoted so much about my position on covers being played live. It's just that there's parts of what you're saying that get left out or that get overlooked, or the context of it is not understood. And when you say something like, I'd rather hear the songs, original songs from the artist I'm paying to see than cover songs, when the artist has a deep, extensive catalog, when that part gets left out, the statement becomes and looks and reads totally different than what it's intended. That's the point. And so many times, there's selective editing because people want clicks. People are looking for clicks. They're looking for debate, controversy. It's the world. It's crazy. Real quick, there was another documentary that I watched on the plane last night coming back from Brazil. It's called Age of Audio. And it is a documentary about podcasts. And it was about the birth of podcasts, how they started, what they've turned into, where they've become, where they're going, and how there's 10 billion of them out there. And it was really interesting, and it focused on this one guy and his podcast and his efforts to become popular enough with a podcast that he could live off of it. But it interviews Adam Curry, who's the guy who's considered to be the guy who created podcasts or invented it, the Podfather. But basically, in a nutshell, they talk about how it went on this ascent, and you had all these companies, including this one, by the way, that paid hundreds of millions of dollars for these podcast platforms or personalities, whatever. that all of a sudden some of them realized we don't know how to monetize this. They lost a shit ton of money. And how everybody on the planet has a podcast, as I've said so many times, very few of them have any real audience. And you have to have enough audience to make it even move the needle. Like they said in this podcast, you've got to at least average somewhere like 30 to 40,000 an episode to even come close to sniffing some money or any kind of payment. But it was fascinating. And this one guy won all these awards for doing podcasts, but at the end of the day, still nobody was listening to it. But he would go to all these awards, win these awards as this great podcast personality, but he still was like looking at getting a Home Depot job. He thought he was going to make a living off of it. So it was fascinating. Anyway, I'm out of time for this show. 3 more hours coming up on Hair Nation, though, starting at 5 Eastern till 8 Eastern with music, talk, and requests. Back here live tomorrow, 3 Eastern. More of your calls. Brett Michaels as we get into another week. Thank you, everybody.
I do have a beef with Shakira because one time her hips lied to me.
What?
Yeah, they did.
Oh, baby, when you're talking like that.
That's pretty good.
Been waiting all my life for that moment.
You're always free to do an impression. Chris does a couple.
Guy del Forte. Now try to do this.
Now,
No.
California.
My breast is morning humbles.
The Bennington Show, weekdays at noon East and anytime on the SiriusXM app.
Conan O'Brien here. On Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend, I was joined by Arsenio Hall. We had an amazing conversation about the wild energy behind the scenes at the Arsenio Hall Show, the pain of network notes, and how losing his magic act forced him into a comedy career. I had never had a chance to sit down with Arsenio, and this was a dream come true.
Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend with Arsenio Hall. Now available on the SiriusXM app. Just search Conan.
Hey, I'm Mike Slater. My dad passed away at the age of 63. He was in great health. Was out of nowhere. Had a stroke. And super hard, obviously, for the whole family. But my dad had life insurance. So even after he passed away, he was still able to provide for my mom. And of course, by extension, my brother and I. This is why I have life insurance for my family, for my wife and 4 kids. And the best place to get life insurance is ethos.com. Because you can do it in 10 minutes. And there's no medical exam and no blood test. Just a few health questions. 10 minutes. You're covered. Your family is covered. You can get $2 million in coverage for $2 a day. That's a 10-year term life policy for a 35-year-old healthy, non-smoking male. We don't like to talk about death in our culture, but everyone's going to die. You are going to die. Get life insurance in 10 minutes so your family is protected. Ethos, ETHOS, ethos.com/free. Rates may vary, billed monthly. ethos.com/free.
Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. I don't know if you knew this, but anyone can get the same premium wireless for $15 a month plan that I've been enjoying. It's not just for celebrities. So do like I did and have one of your assistants switch you to Mint Mobile today.
Visit mintmobile.com/radio. Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, equivalent to $15 per month required. Intro rate first 3 months only, then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See full terms at mintmobile.com.
Looking for a little extra fun? Chumba Casino lets you play for free with daily login rewards and a cheeky little welcome bonus when you sign up. Explore hundreds of online social casino games and jump in whenever it works for you. No routines, no pressure, just entertainment on your terms. That's Chumba.